Located in Egypt are two main groups, the largest, the Muslim Brotherhood, the other, the National Democratic Party, or the NDP. Their spite began when former President Abdul Sadat was assassinated on October 6, 1981. The assassination was linked to professionally trained military soldiers associated with the Muslim Brotherhood. 8 days later, Hosni Mubarak, vice president at the time since 1973, was sworn into power. During his first year as president, he had a mild note to try and avoid conflict as much as possible until the country became stable after the recent government attacks. One of these issues was whether Egypt should back away from peace with Israel or loosen ties to the United States, and is still a present-day controversy. As his presidency continued, he began to rig elections, causing a rise in the private sector, forming an administrative shell around the president. This administrative shell, many Egyptians said, formed a barrier between the people and him. Many also admitted that they barely knew anything about him. Not only that, but the increasing number of voters under 30 that vote, which is currently at 75%, was increasing. The country's growing age gap also came with other ideas on running the government. The older members liked the autocracy, while the youth liked the democracy. Mubarak was pressured by Egypt and the United States for democracy, and gave in on his fourth contest in 2005 and allowed rival candidates, but the odds stacked highly in his favor. This sparked mass protests in the Egyptian cities, making Mubarak finally give up his power and name a vice president. He was later arrested 2 weeks later for receiving bribes from Hussein Salem in natural gas. This left the power into the hands of the military, leaving the Supreme Council, the armed forces, to take the government. This group was very anti-Muslim Brotherhood, and even imprisoned many of the members, which forced them underground. But after the state of emergency was announced to be canceled in May of 2012, they put up a candidate for election after they promised not to, by the name of Mohamed Morsi. He proved to be better when he won with 51% of the votes, which was a shocking turnout. He then forced the retirement of the defense minister, army chief of staff, and the other senior generals. These firings were announced Sunday after the elections. During his first and only year in office, Morsi had been able to strip the judicial branch of their right to challenge his decision, allowed Islamists to dominate the Constitutional Assembly draft in December of 2013. That boosted a more Islamic-centered belief system, and in January 2014 he banned parties based on religion, mainly targeting the Muslim Brotherhood. This publicly declared his separation from the Muslim Brotherhood, thinking it would give him more public support. He couldn't have been more wrong. Protests broke out over the recent guidelines. The 7-story Muslim Brotherhood headquarters was looted and burned down. Morsi was then forced out of office after the 19-day protest held in Tahrir Square, leaving the military once again in power. They formally dissolved Parliament June 15th, calling it invalid.